Welcome to Moxie Uncut. I'm your host, Jenny Nuccio, social entrepreneur, designer, innovator, and founder of Imani Collective. This season is all about reset. Real stories, the ones that don't make it into the captions. Failure, pivots, burnouts, heartbreaks, and the quiet courage to just begin again. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers that are building with purpose. We talk about the resets that shaped them, the lessons that they learned the hard way, and the strength that found them on the other side. If you're in a season of rebuilding or redesigning, you're not alone. You're right where you need to be. So let's dig in. Welcome to Moxie Uncut, the reset season. This season is all about the rebuild, the pivot, the restructuring, the internal shifts that change how you lead, how you build, and sometimes even who you are. Reset is not a failure, it is refinement. It's recalibration and it's rebuilding with wisdom. Here we talk about real stories, the pressure, the lessons, the resilience, and the strength that comes on the other side. So I'm happy to introduce our guest today, Kevin.
Thank you.
Welcome to Moxie Uncut. And this is probably also, I've had many guests, re-guests. So this is your
Fourth time,
guys. Okay. So we'll put in the show notes, all his other episodes. But before we get to know a little bit more about who you are, if you haven't been with us from the very beginning of Moxie, which is now crazy enough, been about 7 years, we're going to do some rapid fire. I call it the quick cut. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning person or night builder?
Night builder.
Big vision or detailed executor?
Detail execution.
What's one word people use to describe you?
Fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
What's a strength that you lean on too much?
Ooh. That was a curveball.
Gotcha. Curveball. Come on, quick fire.
Persistence.
Persistence. Okay. What's one small habit that keeps you grounded?
Small habit that keeps me grounded. Drinking coffee.
We'll stop there. Just with coffee and drinking coffee, we know that coffee is in your system all the time. Okay, let's start with just sharing with people what you're best known for. I know you wear a lot of hats, so who are you? Say your name and what you're best known for.
Thank you. So my name is Kevin Mbogho. First, I am a husband to an amazing wife. Shout out to Ninja. Proud father of 3 kids, amazing kids. I love them to death. And I serve Imani Collective in the capacity of head of strategic operations and sustainability. I am also an environmental consultant. I'm a certified impact rater by Impact International. And just in a nutshell, I like to consider myself a faith-led builder. I love to build systems and design structures that allow, for team capacity building for teams that allow an environment where they can just grow and thrive and, be the best they can be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kevin, I don't think I've ever heard that introduction, and I love it so much. Welcome to Moxie Uncut again. I am really excited to have you because there are multiple loves that I have in this world, and some of it has to do with, again, being strategic, but specifically in sustainability, specifically in being data informed, specifically in our, even as a human, in our goals and aspirations. And I feel and know that I've been able to see you, just even hearing some of like your accreditations and your certs, and even you're in a new program that we'll talk about potentially.
Yes.
You're always rebuilding yourself and pouring into yourself. So let's talk about just where that comes from. What's the motivation to continue to be curious and learn more?
Okay, see, let me take you back to my roots and growing up. I was a popular kid, but I realized, I think growing up, that identity was an issue for me. I didn't create my own identity. I was always pivoting or mirroring what the society, my friends or family thought of who I was. So I grew up with this notion that I was a chameleon. I would draw from the environment and just pivot and adapt. Well, it wasn't really, I can say it's really been a positive way for me to like live my life and grow. and analyze my growth. However, one thing I drew from it was adaptability. I knew that in my life, with how I've grown, the environments I've been to, I had to like adapt so much. And I think that is something that kind of was innately like built and developed during those times. So even professionally, academically, I don't know whether you know this, but I think we shared this, some fun facts recently, that I'm a trained veterinarian subordinate.
Oh, yes. That really threw me off. This was a new fun fact recently. Yes.
It was during those pivot moments for me. I finished high school and didn't know what to do. So I got employed as a veterinarian assistant, that is, and slowly got trained. And by the end of it all, after 2 years, I'd participated in 14 surgeries. And then comes college. In college, I didn't get the actual marks to do veterinary medicine. So I pivoted to anthropology. After anthropology, I went into the job market, and the first job that I did, that I actually got out of college, was things to do with like IT and data entry, and that built my love for data. And then I transitioned from that and into when I interned for the NEMA, National Environmental Management Authority, and that actually cemented my environmental passion and sustainability. So it's been a constant. My life has been like a constant movie of pivoting and just adapting and growing. But what I love about it right now is, I think I'm at a place right now that it's a culmination of all those things. And I'm loving the fact that each and everything from that past life is actually things that are driving me forward right now. So that's where it comes from.
So good. Let's talk about your definition of reset, because I feel like your life is the definition. You just like talked about a lot of different pivots.
Yes.
So what does reset mean to you? And in those moments that you've had a reset, what are some, like, maybe the top principle that you've learned about yourself?
Reset for me is realignment. I'll take the analogy of a tree. You don't cut down a tree because it's dying or it's not producing yield. You prune it. And you prune it so that it can grow better or give you better yield. So it's not sometimes about, sometimes reset is all about, getting to a point where you can pivot, where you can learn, you can adapt, and you can change. It sometimes has to do with taking away the unnecessary so that the essential things can actually thrive. So I see that's to me is a reset. What reset is all about. At each point in your pivot, there are things that you need to either let go, there are things you need to focus on, there's some things that you need to empower yourself in, just for an alignment of what it is or the season that you're in. So to me, like, a reset is a prune. Is pruning yourself to align yourself to grow and be better and thrive.
Can you talk a little bit about the practicality of that? Because pruning is painful.
It is painful.
Yeah. And yeah, I want you to expand on that. So in the process of pruning and knowing, like, right, we can look back and be like, wow, that was a season and I needed to get through that to get to the next step. But can you talk about just how do you get up in the morning knowing that it's going to be difficult and the shifts in that?
Wow. So what drives the prerequisite of a reset is either stagnation. Sometimes it comes because of like failure or not achieving the right result of what you want. So it comes with the harsh realities. So the most important thing is to understand that you need to accept these realities and you need to face them. And the less time you take denying or running away from that harsh reality is more time you're taking from your pivot or your realignment. And it takes a lot of diving deep, and you cannot do this by yourself. This is where you leverage your support pillars, your basis, your foundation, your faith, and your values. All these things play a big role in your pivot and making sure that you are stable in yourself and you are at the right space and to like see the right things. I tend to look at the things this way. Whenever you want to transition into something different, I always look at, I can draw from scripture where Jeremiah was asked, what do you see? And he said, I see the road of an almond tree. And what the Lord said was profound. Thou hast sinned well, now I'll hasten to perform. So it's all about your sight, what you focus on, what you're able to see in those murky times, mud with a lot of betrayal, emotional downfall, pitfalls, to just be able to ground yourself to see, so that you can see what's beyond this dark alley, and just to stretch your vision beyond just to where it's dawn, where you can see that speck of light, and you draw from that and you just move on. Yeah.
That's so good. What's something right now that you're just really proud of? You know, I think for me, it's a lot of people that sit in this chair. Some not so much, but a lot of people I have a lot of history with.
Yeah.
And a lot of memories and a lot of fun times and hard times.
True.
And so I've been able to, we've gone through a lot in that. And so in even recent pivots and changes and things, like what's just something personally that you're excited about rebuilding? And also, how have you pulled from past situations? Like what values have grown, do you think, in the last couple of years for you?
Well, there is a lot. And as you're asking me that question, my mind is clearly sifting through what I need to say, because I know we have limited time. But what I can say is my transition back into Imani and into this new capacity, because I have worn a lot of hats for Imani Collective. And to see now, to be able to get to a point that I'm drawing from each and every one of those hats that I wore, and now culminating into the position that I'm at and the capacity which I am able to serve, or I'm privileged to serve, that is something I'm very proud of. Because in those moments, there were some really harsh times. There were some really moments there that I doubted myself, moments where I was met with, harsh critic and things failing and things not working out. And the constant pivoting into different roles, I didn't have the right perspective of that. I always thought that I failed in one. That's why I jumped on another. That's why I'm jumping on another. But I didn't know it was the Lord's way of allowing me to, be a part of each and every transition, or each and every part of that organization. And it's beautiful, the fact that right now things I'm making decisions quicker because I'm drawing from past experiences and I'm seeing what needs to be done, how I can make things efficient. I have a strategy in mind on how I work, because I like building systems and I like structure and I like data. And it's been easy for me to just sit down and think of what can I do for this department. And I'm drawing from past experiences and I'm saying, hey, we need to be better at A, B, C, and D. And it's a beautiful thing, because that's been my dream. I consider myself a faith-led builder. And it's such a privilege to get to a point that I have experience and knowledge, and now my faith is shaping how I am using all these things to create my structures and build systems and build capacities, and just pour myself into like my work and into people in a whole different light than I was. So one thing I can say that I draw from the past, or I learned from that, like a value from that, that's a little bit different or takes a deviation a bit, is the ability to say no to the unnecessary from even the cognitive space. Because a lot of challenges tend to, they tend to really amplify the negative. What I'm saying is, don't ignore the negatives, but the ability to, invest more and focus more of your cognitive investment on the positive, and looking at what's buildable, not what's broken. That mind shift and allowing myself to say no to certain things or certain thoughts, it's been a game changer for me. And I'm extrapolating the same perspective also in things that I accommodate, or people I need to accommodate, associations that are around me all the time and demand my attention. I am cutting back and I'm saying no, because I was the type of person that was very hard for me to say no to people, to things, to associations. I really loved to like just network and build my portfolio, my social portfolio. But I realized that you don't need so many people. You just need the right people. So it is say no, and to just focus, even no on my mind, like on thoughts that are diminishing. That's something that keeps me going.
What do you think, to give the listeners perspective too, Imani Collective is If you don't know and you just know me as the podcast host, Imani Collective, I'm the CEO of, and I have the privilege of working next to Kevin as he's the head of strategic operations and sustainability. But something that he's talking about is all of the different hats he wore, from sustainability to just production to quality control. Yeah. But the beauty of all these different shifts is it has allowed you to be an excellent strategic operator because you see every angle of the business. And so I think that's really cool when we can look at seasons and be like, why am I just here? But to see the growth and the patience and the resilience in that. I would also say, like, I want to go back to your comment about, like, I was in everything, because I think you're a natural achiever, right? And you want excellence and you want quality. Mm-hmm. That alone, I think, is why we get along a lot. We also banter. He's being very serious right now in this podcast, but we have a lot of good laughs. We won't tell any jokes because you won't get it because they're completely inside jokes. But yeah. I want you to go back to that because of the associations. Because I find that I'm the same. I tinker in a lot of things, and I'm kind of the same way where I'm like, okay, I'm going to say yes to this, and I'm going to be on this advisory board, and I'm going to do this. And I still am probably potentially in a season like that, I don't know. I need to get better at saying no so I can learn from you. But you mentioned about the people. And I think there becomes a point where we truly just can't handle it. One, because our quality goes down, maybe in what we're giving to that organization, or our energy is being expended, so it's not being prioritized right into our family, or there's a so-called thing called burnout, which we love to talk about. So in that season, what made you decide to shift? I mean, you mentioned a little bit, but also even reset in the way that you volunteer your time, essentially, and your wisdom into other spaces. Like, where did that mental click happen, or did something happen in your family? Like, I love to give the listeners kind of practical application of, like, okay, I was doing all of these things, but what made you start saying no?
Okay, so I was like you said, I was involved in a lot, and that means being a part of so many teams that necessarily weren't in my department or weren't things that I was supposed to be concerned with. I love to see people grow. I love to see people, transition and transform and get into the best level. And I am such an observational. I'm a visual person. I'm very observant, and sometimes I see things that I know. Ooh, I can change this about you. Like, if you just added this, if you use this data, if you introduce this in how you work, you'll be so much better. And I realized that is my perspective. It's not theirs. It's not their reality. Everyone is in their own journey. And sometimes you insert yourself in someone's journey, and then you're hit with the harsh reality that, they don't want this for themselves. You want it for them, but they don't want it for themselves. Or they've not gone to a point that they have not seen yet, or they have not gone through their season enough for them to realize, this is a place I want to be. So you're essentially being Jeremiah in everyone's story. You are seeing for them, and you're not seeing correctly. And those things have a blowback to you, and they disappoint you. And you feel sometimes betrayed. Sometimes you feel discouraged, disappointed, and you go back to yourself. And some of these investments or some of these engagements are at the expense of what you are supposed to be doing. So you end up slacking back from what you're supposed to do. You have no impact, or you've not driven any impact to anyone else. And that's frustrating. For people like us who are into excellence and quality, we are really harsh critics of ourselves. And when we come to dissect or analyze our performance over a period of time, like a year or a quarter of a year, we are meant with the harsh realities which we cannot escape because they come from us, that you failed or you didn't achieve this. This is something that you did not do. And then to reset or to even build up enough energy and momentum to get out of that slump takes time sometimes. And fun fact, we have this ongoing joke at Imani that everything moves fast. Jenny, for all those who don't know Jenny moves really fast. And from design, from an ideology to a design to a process to execution, it has to be fast. So you have to be prepared. So sometimes you're caught with her speed and you're still in a slump. So you have to really adjust. So But the thing that actually hit me the most, and I saw that, hey, I need to start staying no, or at least really employ a lot of discernment in where I invest my energy, was when now you are trying to invest into someone and they've not seen it for themselves. And that can destroy a relationship. And sometimes it's not that this person is negative. It's just that they've not gotten to the point of their life, their journey, that they've gotten to that pivot, or they've gotten to the point that, okay, it's now a stepping stone. You need to step into the other. So you need to allow people to just walk their journey and not be the visionary in each and everyone's journey. So that, I started saying no. And I started really looking at people who would approach me for help or would need that help, and they would reciprocate the energy that I put in. And then it started creating synergies, because what that does to you, it really builds on who you are and your self-confidence and your leadership, and then you can drive yourself forward. Yeah.
So really you're just a lot of empathy, and you just wanted a lot of your energy, you're saying, went into just like wanting to help people grow, but they weren't necessarily like accepting it or receiving or even noticing it.
Or noticing it, yes.
Yeah. So at Moxie Uncut, we interview, as you know, like entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, leaders, people in policy or whatever that may be, government. And obviously, I love leadership. Yes.
Yes, you do.
Fun fact. I don't go by Dr. Jenny Nuccio, actually, on Uncut. Please don't call me Dr. Jenny, but I do love leadership. Love me a good leadership theory. So I want you to talk about how your leadership has grown. I love sitting and having coffee with you, these conversations, and talking about like baby Jenny and her leadership. Also, I will say baby Jenny was also having babies, and so I was very hormonal, but I feel like we grow and we change and we shift from our age to our maturity to our experience. So what is one thing that you have seen yourself grow as a leader that maybe again would have been seen as a weakness in the beginning of you stepping into more leader roles that now you find is a pretty significant strength you have?
Wow.
What a question, right?
What a question, yes.
I know. It's okay to brag on yourself. That's what these podcasts are for.
I can say the ability to slow down, to slow your mind down. We get a lot of things and we get a lot of opportunities coming our way, even as leaders. And the ability to just slow down and not to walk into everything, like jump, both feet deep into something and just slowing down and assessing. And even sometimes just not on a structural level, but on a spiritual sense, just praying about it and being like, hey, is this aligned to me? Is it for me? Or discernment, yes. Just leaning into discernment more than just the structure and the corporate side of, of things. That is key. I now learn to appreciate that more, because when I was young, younger, say younger. Let me use.
We're still young. We'll always be young at heart.
Yes. But when we are way younger, I believe one thing. I always equated achievement, like success, to achievement, like how much you can do in such a short period of time, which is always good, but sometimes it's not always ideal, especially in leadership. When you are tasked, or when you have the privilege of leading an organization, or that your decisions, like a lot more people and a lot of processes depend on your decisions. I think the way to go is not moving fast and doing everything, but being very strategic in employing discernment and the opportunities that come your way, and really sifting through and, just finding things that really align with who you are and where you want to go and what your purpose is. That's like, I think for me, that has been the cream of the crop. Obviously, there have been other things, like there are other values that I've picked up, like being resilient and the ability to just shut your mind off. Because I see our mind as a sponge. Anything that is poured into it, it can either absorb. But we need to employ like squeezing it, because once you squeeze your mind, things come out. Yeah? So you're like a sponge. So understanding which the seasons or times in which we need to squeeze, as opposed to just be free and accommodate and absorb. Yeah, so that as well. Those are, I think, top of my head, those two, the ability to employ discernment and to just slow down, and the ability to to squeeze out what is not necessary so that it can grow. So
I like that.
Yeah.
think discernment also just changes in a way that we interact with our teams, as we know, and just being able to be wise in that, what to share, what not to share, what to maybe take a few seconds to not say anything.
Yeah. Even the energy you give different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm speaking to myself on some of these things, like. Yep. So we went to, I want to talk about this because I loved this theory. We went to a conference together in Kigali called the Global Learning Conference. And many people asked us why we went, because it was focused on education, and the education space. But what it really was focused on, if people read in between the lines, was the bridge from education and prepping education for the workspace.
Yes.
And because we work in workforce development and specifically economic empowerment, we see the other side. We see the other side of people not being trained well, soft skills being lacking of soft skills. Yeah. And so it was interesting to be, I feel like, and I'm like, sure you felt this too, to be on that practitioner side. The Global Learning Conference was also fascinating because it was ran in Switzerland for so long, and then moved. Finally, they're now bringing the continent of Africa into the conversation, which is a little wild because technically, the reality is this is the future. So, haven't been on the continent of Africa. We're a little biased. We love Kenya. Sorry, Kigali and Rwanda. We love Kenya, but please come visit us. Okay, that was my little segue. So back to the Global Learning Conference.
Yes,
there was and I know we're coming to the end of our time, but there was, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, but this guy was talking about productive failure.
Elon,
look at you. Okay, not Elon Musk, another guy, guys. Elon, he was really great. He used to be a football player, professional, right? Professional football player, not American football, Americans. Football, as in soccer. Yes, he was fascinating and he was super intelligent, and he talked about this idea of productive failure and actually how he tested it in classrooms with math.
Yes.
And how teachers could teach this. I want you can explain a little bit. Basically, essentially, productive failure is failure teaches us to be productive and actually to use our brain and other capacity and learn and grow. How do you see that as a leader and how you're implementing that into systems you have today?
Wow, that was, I think, one of the most transformational things for me in that conference, because we shy away and we stigmatize failure, and we don't really give it its place in learning and education, and it's a strong part, even with the theme of this podcast, of this season, which is reset. The onset of it is either stagnation or failure. That provokes, or invokes the idea for you to slow down and set and reset. So, in what he was really pushing, the fact that you can now program to fail for the purposes of teaching, because failure, the way he put it, in my words, is failure in a way unlocks a learning ability in a cognitive, in the cognitive space of a human, that allows them that draws from adaptation. Yeah. So when you combine those two aspects of humanity, which are one of the core things of humanity and evolution, that is adaptation, you can find that a failure is something that can invoke adaptation in our mind, in our cognitive, and it can draw someone to deep learning. So perception of concepts this time are not just things that are crammed, but they become lived experiences through failures. Yeah. So, and when he was talking about it, I was looking at, I have these sustainability cities and capacity buildings that I need to do for the workspace. And I started, because I already built out a curriculum for the entire year. And I was thinking, how can I, readapt this instead of starting with concepts that people don't know? Because a lot of sustainability concepts are relatively new and they keep changing every time. And these are not things that were taught in classrooms, or most of the people, by virtue of what they're doing, are not maybe privileged to understand what sustainability is. And from just the first series we had, and I did that survey, and I was seeing a lot of repetition. I'm like, I didn't really nail it. And now I'm trying to program how I can start with concepts. Maybe instead of introducing the next series is environmental stewardship. Yeah. So maybe try and set up scenarios where I get like completely wrong answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely wrong answers. And then introduce what environmental stewardship is all about. Because everyone thinks that it is someone else's responsibility, or there are people who are supposed to do that.
Yeah.
However, environmental sustainability for me is something that is starts with you, with yourself, and with your perception and appreciation of your environment and your planet. Because without it, nothing that we do actually has a place. So I'm thinking about it, and it's a concept that I'm still trying to design. But it was amazing to get that and to program to fail. I just program to fail. So I'm programming the series for like the participants to really fail on the onset, so that I can introduce things and they can become lived experiences, as opposed to things that that part of your brain that is just memory.
For sure.
From it. Yeah.
I think it really opened me up as a leader. And we'll make sure that we actually maybe put that journal article in the show notes, a productive failure. And in fact, there was you didn't fail your first sustainability series, but you did mention like, oh, I wish that could have been better. So I think we can always adapt, grow, and even have these in those moments, like micro resets of our mind and whatnot. So as we come to an end, there's people in all different seasons that are shifting, pivoting, changing. And I find that the common factor of making a decision or moving forward has to do with fear, that to take the courage potentially to just make that first step, because there's a lot of unknowns, right? But what if someone is in this season that's like, man, I just feel like I'm stagnant and definitely need to press that reset button. What's some advice that you'd give to our listeners?
Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I'm just simply trying to, with that scripture, I'm simply trying to highlight the power of positive thinking, especially in moments where you need to reset, to deal with fear, to deal with anxiety, to allow you to see beyond the murkiness of what it is that provoked this reset error. And I'm not saying, again, do not focusing on the negatives, but it's a conscious effort to invest more of your cognitive investment towards the positives. Focus on what's buildable and not what's already broken. Yeah, focus on what you can build. And I will add this: whenever now faith starts driving that mindset, resilience becomes natural. It becomes something that you don't force, struggle, or do. You get this inner sense of peace even in troubled times or troubled waters, and you just move forward. So positive thinking, it has done amazing things. I have tons of testimonies of my life where without positivity, I don't know where I would be at. And this is something that I want to give like a shout out to my mom, who is my like I can say my sensei, who always drops nuggets of wisdom, and she's always pushed me to think positively. I didn't understand what that was when I was younger, but right now with my transitions and where my life is, positive thinking is something that is underrated, but has the power to really allow you to see beyond, periods of chaos or turmoil or stagnation or failure.
Kevin, thank you so much for being on the podcast for the fourth time. I feel like your testimonies, all of that could be its own podcast in itself, just even in the little blurb you just shared of just the stories you have.
Yes.
But I'm really grateful for your voice here and just, being able to see you grow over the years.
Yeah, and I thank you for the opportunity, not just to be here, but to just create a platform for me to really pour out my passion and my stewardship and serve. So it has been a great honor, like not just being on this podcast, but like actually knowing you and being in your life, and just to see how you have moved yourself and how you've grown, and how your perception or your perspective on leadership is something that has greatly shaped, what type of a leader I want to be. So
wow, thank you. That took a turn, guys. Thank you so much. This is Moxie Uncut, the reset season, refining, realigning, rebuilding. And as always, friends, Moxie on. Thanks for being here with me on Moxie Uncut. If something stayed with you, please pass it on. These stories are meant to be shared. And if you're in a season of rebuilding or becoming, then just keep going. I'll see you here next week.